Welcome to the Unleash Greatness podcast with your host, Jonathan Mitchell. The best in personal, emotional, spiritual, and business development.
Hello, everyone. It is another great week. Hello, it is I, Jonathan Mitchell. This is Unleash Greatness. That is the theme song, by the way. And so today is interview day, being Monday. I have on with us Dr. Erin, the Doctor of Divinity. She gets on and talks to us about her story, about money and how you have a relationship and subconscious programming around money. A little bit about her. She's the CEO of Good Morning La La Land and Soul Society. She's a New Thought minister, international best-selling author, global speaker, and of course, she's a loving mom. And she loves to talk about her kids. She is awesome. So grateful to have her. We had a random connection over Instagram. And before I get into more of that, I just want to talk about our sponsor for today is naturalmedicinemamas.com. Anything you need around natural or alternative medicine products or advice, please go there. They have great stuff for men, women, children, anxiety, flu stuff, colds, whatever. It's all there. It's awesome. All right, here we go. Let's get into the interview with Dr. Erin. Hello, everyone. Once again, it is I, Jonathan Mitchell. This is Unleash Greatness, and I am with Dr. Erin. I am super excited to have her. She's been patient with me during some scheduling issues, but finally got her on. I've been following her podcasts, her work, her Instagram. We've connected several times and watched a lot of her stuff. Been super inspired by her and wanted to have her on. So thank you so much for coming on board with me.
I'm ready to unleash my greatness.
Yes, I love it. Well, I've already done a short intro for the audience, but I would love to hear your point of view. So you get to brag on yourself and tell us all about Dr. Erin.
Well, the most important thing is I'm in the middle of a construction zone right now in Los Angeles. That's the highlight of my identity right now. But really, from a human standpoint, I'm a doctor of divinity. I'm a New Thought minister. I am the founder of Good Morning La La Land and Soul Society, international best-selling author and transformational speaker, and most importantly, a mother.
That's awesome. I love it. Mind me asking how many kids you have?
20, just kidding. One. I have one. He's grown. He's like a man. I have a man.
He's a man. I'm a mother of a man.
He's a man. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, good. Well, I am so grateful to have you on board. Like I said, I've been looking at your stuff. Today, I thought the topic we would dive into you, because I know you do a lot of work with subconscious reprogramming, and we could go a lot of different directions. So if you feel like you want to, I'm all on board for it. But I wanted to start the conversation with around finances and money. So I read your story, how you said you had succeeded in the millionaire status by when you were 30. You mind me asking, were you in a business then? What was going on to have you go to that level and you changed at that point?
Sure. So I came from no money. My mom, we lived in kind of like a pseudo hippie commune. We had no money. I remember it was like a very special occasion when my mom would buy ice cream, and it was usually when my cousins came over, and I remember being kind of pissed, like, wait a second, why do they get the ice cream? Yeah. We would go to the thrift store for our clothes, and I mean, quite frankly, I never cared about any of it, because when you don't know any different, you don't know any different. But anyway, so the story goes is I did get into real estate when I was in 20s. I actually, if you know my story at all, I had a stillborn when I was 22. Mm-hmm. I was in nursing school, and I dropped out of nursing school, and I thought, what can I do to have a flexible job that can make money and be a mom? And I actually didn't get into traditional real estate. I got into buying and fixing up homes, which sounds glamorous, and it's not at all. It's a lot of work, a lot of work. And I literally saved every single penny I could. I didn't ever touch my principal. I waited at tables on the side and slowly started having it be my full-time thing, doing spiritual work on the side. And then what happened was I basically was doing my spiritual work all through my 20s with it. I had like a double life, and it was like, okay, what I really want to be doing over here is my spiritual work, and then I got to go do this other thing called real estate. Right. And I think there's a divide. There begins to be more and more of a divide in your authentic, what your true calling is. And for me, there was a place where I just couldn't. It was like, I always think of it like someone that just has to live their true identity. Like it didn't work for me anymore. And I just, one day, it just was like, I don't care if I don't make any money. This is what I care about the most. And so I had to make the full commitment to take the quantum leap over full time into my spiritual work.
Awesome. So the Soul Society Is that how you say it? I want to make sure I'm saying it right.
It's okay. Yeah, it's soul society. It's actually one word.
Society.
It's
Oh
like
my gosh.
soul and society, but then
Right.
all put in one.
You
It's
mix it
all
together.
about.
I'm
It's
so
all about
sorry.
the URL. No. It's all about the URL, Jonathan. I was
So
like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be a really difficult one for
I
somebody, but
no,
actually,
it's okay
yeah.
because I was just reading the website. I was like, wait a second, I said it wrong. Soul Society. I love it. So
I don't think anybody's gonna get it right, so it's a good thing because then they remember it because they're like, it's like two words, but then it's in one. And it's like, okay, good. We'll make people talk
I
about
love
it.
it. I think it's super clever. So was that what you began in your spiritual journey? Was that, or how did you kind of go to where you are now?
Oh gosh, that's like 10 chapters back, right? So, right? So I was doing my own spiritual work, and as I'm sure you know, is
Yeah.
once you start really embodying whatever it is that you're really seeking, you naturally embody the wisdom and the skill set and the tools. And then when I began to heal and kind of go through my own spiritual awakening, it was just a natural thing. Like Joseph Campbell says, the
Yeah.
student becomes the teacher. And slowly I realized that, oh, this is actually, I'm actually going to, I mean, I never thought in a million years I'd be doing what I'm doing. It just was a natural thing. And then I was like, oh, I actually should probably get a degree so that I'm not just one of those people out there, saying I do spiritual work. I wanted some backing around it and language so that I could really relate to what was going on. So then I became a spiritual practitioner, a New Thought minister, and then a doctor of divinity. And then through that, of course, I was doing, working with clients. And then Good Morning Lala was birthed because I felt like I wanted mainstream consciousness. And then basically just working with so many people, I couldn't take any more one-on-ones. So I was like, how do I, bring this out to the world? And I saw a huge thing where people were getting really lonely, and they still are, and feeling like people need to come offline into events. They need community. We need community. We're not meant to live the way we're living. We're meant to live in tribes. We're meant to live in extended families and small communities. And now that we don't have that. The internet's given us so many blessings, and we can connect with people around the world, but it's also divided us in so many ways. And we can randomly plop into a new city at any point in time. You couldn't do that,
Yeah.
50 years ago. It wasn't heard of.
That's crazy. So do you have live events now that you do with people in like the groups or you do, or what is it you focus on now?
Yes. So we have an online community, and that's really about getting centered in through, different calls and different programs and courses and whatever. We have a monthly event right now. Tomorrow, we have one of our first ones. We're launching a place called Le Pure. It's at Kimpton Hotel. It's very swanky. So it's kind of ironic because most spiritual work has always been about renouncing things and really not doing. And I actually feel totally the opposite. I feel like we're here to have this great human experience and develop our consciousness in form. And so we're doing it at the Kimpton Hotel. It's sold out, 60 women. There's probably a couple of men there. We have all kinds of influencers. We have the Princess of Norway. We have kind of, this event is for kind of people who I really want to partner with, and just we're going to actually really call in and do some affirmative prayer and hold space for miracles and for all of us to really work together. So I'm so excited about tomorrow. We've got step and repeat. We've got
That's awesome.
we've got sponsors. We've got different little presents coming in and swag bags and all kinds of fun things.
I love it. And just again, so you guys know, she is in LA construction world, so please forgive any banging you hear in the background.
It's just banging, and it's just like, okay, we're going to do this thing.
We're going
Not
for it.
now.
That's okay.
When?
In your life, when you think about someone who's living to their fullest potential, whether that's you or someone else you admire or whoever, what is it that they do that sets them apart from other people who are not quite there yet?
It's a great question because, of course, I'm around people that are worth millions and millions of dollars, and still I don't consider them fully successful when they are not fully living in a heart space and in an authentic space and making a difference in the world, working for the highest good, if you will. I don't consider that success. And then I have people who are amazing and dynamic and beautiful human beings and have had, great awakenings, and they suffer because they haven't figured out how to master the finances in their life. And so I think that there's a middle road, and finding that middle road is what I would consider success. And I think that that's unique for each individual.
Between the service and then the financial reward.
I mean, I think that there's a place where you find your authentic voice and calling. And I take people through finding their purpose and calling. And generally it's about overcoming what suffering they've had. So the formula goes, your triumphs plus your passion plus your skill set equals your purpose and calling. So I truly believe that, we've had hard times and we've had suffering around us for a reason. It's because we've taken on like a soul agreement to say, we are going to step up to this plate and create harmony and create what we do want to, experience in this realm.
I've watched a lot of your content both in Instagram and heard your podcast and all that kind of stuff. And so for you, do you have any type of daily ritual that you do that helps you be in a certain place, both to give to other people consistently and to keep yourself at a higher level energetically? Or what is it you do on a daily basis to keep yourself at that level?
It's a great question. We ask every single guest that comes on Good Morning Atlanta. We had 800 last year. We asked that question. And what's funny is that so many people have very similar things, everything from meditation to affirmations to, the exercise to drinking, green drinks. So it's very common. And, for a point in time, I think it changes. And for me, it changed years ago when I was first doing my spiritual work. I would have major spiritual. I would go in for hours into meditation. And yes, it was very important that I stay on that. And I would really fall off my, get really overwhelmed and all the above when I didn't have a spiritual practice. But it's different now for me. I think it's an intentional thing at every point in time in the day, And so for me, it's like when I sit down at my desk in the morning, I intentionally take 3 deep breaths. And in that moment, I can get to a place that I would have taken me an hour to get to in meditation before, right? So I do it throughout the day. Every single meeting I start, actually, we didn't do it with our meeting. I usually do, and you're right, it's all your fault. I usually start with an affirmative prayer and breath and stuff like that. So I'm doing it throughout the day, and I'm a true believer that our entire life is our daily spiritual practice. That how I'm talking with you and how I'm holding you in consciousness, and every single word that I speak and every single thought that I choose to, energize is my daily spiritual practice. I don't look at it anymore like it is just in the morning or just in the evening.
So if for anyone to get at whatever level they're at, I hear of a lot of people who write into me who say, I'm earning this much money and others are making 40 grand a year. It's like there's like you probably teach, there's no right and wrong. It's about where you're at and what's prosperity for you. Mm-hmm. But for someone who feels like they're stuck, what do you tell them to do to reprogram so they can step up in their financial life?
Sure. Yeah. So it's the same with anything. I mean, money's no different from if we're reprogramming around relationships or reprogramming around health, in that it all comes down to, core beliefs in the soul, for sure. So of course we want to begin to see what trauma has happened, and trauma that has happened in relationships might affect our money. So we want to reprogram it and deal with trauma in all areas, and it affects our money because a lot of that is self-worth, right? So it doesn't really matter. So number 1 is we deal with trauma always. The number 2 is we deal with quandary. And this is an interesting area. So we get down to what their core values and commitments are. And probably I say this is one of the biggest things when it comes to money. And one of the typical things that happens very commonly with clients is we get down to why. Why do they want money? And it comes down to, because I want financial freedom. I'm like, well, that's cool. But you may not have freedom until you actually hustle and then build the assets and build all that stuff to have freedom. So it's a real quandary to want money for freedom, right? So that's why we have to love the journey as we go. We have to find our why. We have to be authentic. And so it's like getting down to, what if you had nobody looking and you were really living in your values and your commitments? What would the day of your life look like? And look, the reality is that the people who are highly, highly monetarily successful is because they love what they do. They love the deal. They love the grind. They love whatever that is. So if you're not, you got to get real. And our job as coaches, if you will, is closing the gap between what they think they want and what that really takes for them to embody, to be that, to have a skill set, mindset, team, all that stuff, versus who they really are being. And so our job is to really either get them motivated and getting clear and getting decided to rise to what that goal is, or come and basically accept who they are and what the reality of what they really are committed to, and closing that gap into that. Okay, so we've got trauma, and then we've got quandary, and then of course we have to deal with our own self-judgment, our identity, our true identity. We birth their true identity for an all-powerful spiritual being, knowing that they can decide at any point in time. I don't care how broke you are. I don't care if you live in your car right now and you're listening to this. The reality is this: if you listen to successful people and you interview successful people, they always say there's one thing: they all decided. They all decided. And it doesn't matter if they came from a wealthy background, a terrible background, parents that beat them, they had great parents. they came from, some country, or they live in America. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you choose it, because I mean, we've heard the stories over and over again of teachers that live on, $18,000 a year becoming millionaires. It's because they decided and they made that choice to understand money, basically. So for clients, if you're out there and you want to, if you truly, truly want to have money, I mean, it's just simple. Yes, you need to deal with your subconscious, and you need to understand the skill set of the reality that you're in. And that comes down to understanding money. That comes down to understanding the taxes. That comes down to understanding budgeting. That comes down to understanding building assets versus liabilities, and so on and so forth. So it's just a decision.
What common themes do you see with people with a self-worth issue that holds them back, number one, and then two, makes them go forward?
Mm-hmm. It's funny because, John, the thing is, people are all the same. Human beings are so, as you know, I'm sure, like they're so similar. It's crazy. You're like, and that's what's it's so intriguing, as being someone like you that works with people, and you start to see human behavior and you're like, whoa, it's the same stuff, different story. It's all the same. So yes, it all comes down to, I'm not enough, or I'm not worthy of love, or self-sabotage. Some people are afraid of success, whatever it is. But the reality is, it comes down to two things. And a lot of times what's interesting is okay, let me backtrack. When people generally are not having quote, quote, success, it's because they have had, in a high emotional negative state, they decided something and they commanded something like, I'm never going to have money, or whatever that is, right? But what's oftentimes highly, highly successful people that aren't really awake and really aren't that conscious, they did the same thing. They just decided that I'm going to win, So it's the same thing, but it's just projecting out into these different these pictures of their life, but they don't even know why. They're just in this kind of rat race, and you're like, I don't even know how I'm doing this. And they're just in it's like a program. They literally just put their program in, and it's just running. And this is oftentimes why we find, midlife crisis or whatever, where people all of a sudden like, why am I doing this? Let me just stop here for a minute, because I'm not really actually feeling enjoyment. I'm not actually fulfilled, and I'm not doing actually what I want to be doing. Let's put the brakes on this, and let's make a U-turn.
That's awesome. I read in one of my favorite books that fear is faith looking in the wrong direction.
Oh,
I
love that.
I was like, oh, it just blew me up, because I was like, it's the same energy, right? It's the same
energy. Mm-hmm.
It's just looking, just got to switch it, and then you're good. But
right.
Yeah,
I mean, we teach universal law, and universal law is that. Universal law is how we create, and you can create and invert the law and create chaos and scarcity and hate and whatever, or you can use it and align with it and create harmony, and then have heaven on earth, if you will, right? It's the exact same energy that creates limiting beliefs, that creates abundant beliefs. It's just used differently. Same thing.
So I have a question for you that I actually have not asked anyone else, but it just came to mind. It keeps popping up, so if it means I need to ask you. So I talk to a lot of people, various backgrounds. What would you say sets you apart as a coach, as a speaker, that you bring to the table that people don't?
Yeah, I think a lot of people. It's interesting, because after interviewing, over 1,000 people, all kind of, a lot of them in our genre, quite frankly, people are teaching the same stuff. You know what I mean? And so you're kind of like, wow, what is different? And it's a great question. I think the most important thing when you're looking for someone to work with, or a coach or whatever, is have they really done enough work to where when you walk into their consciousness, you feel potential. You feel like we literally create people into existence by how we view them and our own limiting beliefs. And I think that what sets me apart is that I've done so much work that I can literally create miracles by just being in someone's field.
That's cool. I love that.
Yeah. It's not me. It's just the universe doing it. I don't take responsibility for it.
No, it's good. It just means your energy's because I talk about this in other places, but it's just like your aura, your space, your field, whatever you want to call it. It's interesting to see how people, when they come into your space, how it either brings you up or brings you down. And I would also agree that you definitely have that presence, and I'm very grateful you let me bask in it a little bit. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Now, I know you're an author yourself, but if I can ask, is there a book that you have not written that has greatly influenced your life, that has changed like how you acted, how you behave, how you think? What's shifted you?
Well, Science of Mind is one of the lineage that I come from, and there's so many great women and men writers in that. But Science of Mind itself is by Ernest Holmes, and that kind of is some of the basis of a lot of the work, which is basically all about universal law. So all those books, I highly recommend anything that teaches universal law. People need. I mean, I wish if there was one thing I would wish is that every child was to read and understand how their mind works and how we create via the law, universal law. Like that should be a must reading before, geometry or whatever. Like, I mean, honestly, I think there's another few books. If you're talking about money, I highly recommend Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Great book, just because it really teaches the basic principles around leveraging assets, liabilities, things like that. I think also another book that's not spiritual that I recommend is The One Thing by Gary Keller, who did Keller Williams Real Estate, because it really is a metaphysical book. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if you focus your mind and you pick one thing and you keep, doing that one thing, you're going to have success. It's like almost inevitable. So I would say from a non-spiritual sense, those books are really great. Spiritually, I mean, there's so many good ones. I don't even know where to begin, but you have to understand universal law. So I think getting into the Science of Mind or how to use the Science of Mind or any of those books are game changers.
I love it. So now we get to talk about you for a second. So tell me the books you've written.
I have Awakening. It's a 40-day guide to unleashing your spiritual powers, your life's purpose, and manifesting your dreams. So the book is a 40-day guide. It's basically, I took all my own kind of epiphanies over, 22 years of doing all my own internal work, and then all the distinctions from my doctorate, because I really wanted to, basically, I wrote the book for my younger self. I thought, what would be a book? Because it was the question you just asked, what would be the one book? Because I get asked all the time, what was the book? And I thought I want to make a book that has personal stories, that has fun things, but that also takes all the distinctions of all the wisdom that I've learned and puts it into one book, so I could hand one book to my younger self, So my book.
No, that's right? Good. I love it. That's sometimes when you as authors and coaches, you go, I wish someone could write this. You're like, wait, maybe I should do that.
Right. And that's ours to do whenever we feel like we're desiring it. Mm-hmm.
I love that. So, okay. So tell everyone where we can find you. Of course, I'm going to put all your links here. I just want to make sure you can hear it as well.
Sure. They can go to drerin.tv, which is DRERIN.tv, and that actually defaults down to soulciety.com. And so I'm on all social media as drerin.tv. I'm on Good Morning La La Land. That's on Roku, Apple, all social media, just Good Morning La La Land. And I don't know, I'm kind of all over the place. You can find me all over those. I'm on the World Wide Web. You know what I'm saying? You can also just meditate, and I'll say hi to you. So yeah,
just tuning into the ethos, right? I really like your come from, your energy and your mindset. I do agree that you have the energy that unleashes people. Like that literally is you bring people up, and I appreciate that. I just want to tell you thank you for that. Oh,
thank you so much. It's challenging, and Instagram, things like that. And I'm sure there's people out there that get overwhelmed with social media, and it's not an end all be all, and no one has to do it. There's lots of people that don't do social media and have great impact in this world. It is a commitment, and it's you've got to be very consistent. And it's been a great place to connect. Not gonna lie, I've made so many incredible relationships via social media, and it's incredible who you impact, and people that contact you and they're like, oh, I've been watching you for a while, and da-da-da, and you're like, wow, it's just so weird that we can be connected at that level. And so just thank you so much for reaching out. Thank you for all the work that you do. And it's all of us. We're all doing this. And that's the time in history. Spirituality is no longer about one person up on a podium. It's all of us together, and we're all rising together, and we're all collaborating, and we're building community. And so just thank you. I hope that you come out to LA and come to one of my events, or I hope that I come over there and do an event.
Yeah, come hang out in Salt Lake, or I'd love to come to LA. I love that place. It's right? Awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, before I go, I'm actually going to harp on, because I'm just looking at your website. You have a couple of things I want to talk about. First off is you have a free money meditation worksheet, which I thought was awesome, right? Can you talk about that real fast? I'm going to talk about something else after that. So in my book and everything I do, I kind of break down questions around limiting beliefs. So you can begin to just become more conscious around them. So the worksheet in the money worksheet is really about,
what did your parents believe about money? What did your friends tell you about money? What, just beginning to become conscious of what's really going on. And then the meditation is just beginning to open up the space and the conversation, understanding that money is literally just energy. It's an expression just like anything, and it's a relationship. So how do you relate to money? And the thing is that you're such a powerful spiritual being. We're such powerful spiritual beings. At the moment we even consider that money is more powerful than us, and we instantaneously experience being disempowered in the realm of money. So it really just opens up the truth around money and begins that conversation. I think that it's like once you, as they say, swallow the red pill or the blue pill, whatever it's called, you really can't go back. So once you start looking at money differently, like, oh, how do I view money? You can't help but start having that conversation. And in that conversation is like, you have no other choice but then to take responsibility and begin to make new choices.
I love it. And I'm going to talk about this just because it's pretty unique, actually, from what I've seen from other people I've had on. You have membership levels, people can get involved with you. So talking about as a whole, what is the purpose of these groups and what do you do in them?
Sure. So in the membership group, we come together each week online to know the truth, live in line with universal law, and really birth our truth. And I teach people how to begin to do their subconscious work themselves, like through mirror work, through meditation. Obviously, as a practitioner, I'm trained in Greek oracle processes, but you can do some of them on your own. But so as a group, we come together online and offline. And then the next level, the leadership level, is for soul entrepreneurs. So people who have birthed their truth and are really ready to take their gift and message to the world and build their platform, understand technology. And then the third level is ambassadors. And those are independent contractors that are deciding to represent and take the logos and actually create soul circles and events and begin to get trained in some of the work. So, yeah.
Awesome. So it's almost like a pseudo franchise on that level.
It will be one day. We just launched January 1st, and we have ambassadors all over. We have the event tomorrow, like I said, is some big names coming to it. Every single, we have intuitives. I'm not somebody that would go to a psychic. I don't really need that per se.
Right.
But every single intuitive and psychic that has come on that we ask for readings because it's fun. And every single one's like, oh, Soul Society is going to be huge. So it's very exciting. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I think it's awesome. It's pretty unique. That's why I want to talk about it with you. So like, that is awesome. I love it. Well, I'll put all your links here. I just want to say again, I receive your compliments and I just want to give it back to you. Thank you so much for all your hard work and everything else. I'm super excited.
You have such a pure soul. You do. You have such a pure soul. Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah, your family. You're a very good family man. Very good. So it's really nice and really great work you're up to.
You are so kind. It means a lot. When it comes from people like yourself, it means a lot. Not that no one else saying that would mean anything, but when someone's aware and awake and they see stuff like that, it's just, I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Okay, you guys, this is Jonathan Mitchell once again with Dr. Erin. Amazing. Thank you so much. And I'll be putting all the links here. Please check her out. She is awesome. And until then, have an amazing day. Goodbye.